Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Rez Podcast, the show where we explore the ideas, habits, and conversations that help us grow, think differently, and live more intentionally. I'm your host, Reza. Today I'm joined with Violet Lange, a Harvard graduate, relationship coach, yoga teacher, and Reiki master who helps people break unhealthy relationship patterns and create lasting love. Today we'll challenge some popular ideas about attachment styles, examine the reality of dating apps, and explore how important sexual chemistry might be in a successful relationship. Violet, welcome to the Rez Podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. You have such a fun show.
Thank you so much, Violet. I'm really excited to have you on the show. So, Violet, first off, let's talk about the formerly known pickup artistry or pickup artists of the dating world. Now they don't really call themselves that because so many things happened. So many, I guess, lawsuits happened. The Me Too movement happened. All that stuff happened. They have a meaningful place in my heart because they helped me in so many ways to develop confidence as a man. But I do understand that some of their ideas are not very well received. And so wanted to get your take. You said prior to me hitting record, you said you did watch the Pickup Artist show on VH1 from the Mystery Method. So I'd love to get your idea on that type of coaching before we get into the other topics.
Of course. Yeah, I think in every endeavor, like there's some truth to it. So when I connect to like the heart of a man who's like, I don't know how to connect with women, and like I need some support in finding that. I'm a yes to that. I'm a yes to like people learning new skills and tools. What I'm not a yes to is like negging and like some of the manipulation techniques that go into that, because it feels a little bit like whiplash. I've experienced people coming on to me like that where they're, sarcastic and put me down and then build me up. And it's just like, holy fucking shit. Like, I don't want to date you. Like, this feels like being on a roller coaster. And my dad was a narcissist, and like I'm just not down for the power games, But when I think of like the heart of the intention behind it, I'm a yes to that. And I'm glad that it's evolving and evolved. However, just like anything else, just because you evolve the name doesn't necessarily mean the bulk of it is evolved. But yeah, I think the entitlement and kind of the psychological manipulation I'm not down for, but the building presence and building confidence and communication skills I'm a yes to.
Perfect. That's what I want to hear, because to be quite frank with you, like I think some of these coaches always preached, to me at least when I joined their programs, they always preach they didn't preach, but it's like karate or martial arts. You can go and kill somebody with those skill sets, and similarly with those skills that you develop in the the types of coaching that we just discussed, you can use it in a negative way. And I think a lot of the coaches, like I know Mystery, I've talked to him personally, we followed each other on Instagram, and I think the intention he has is really good. But I think people have abused some of those tactics. So yeah, I appreciate your insights on that, because the whole point is, remember, this started with guys that are so shy. They always use this expression of like, some people can, like a Marine. There is a Marine that goes and kills people at war, but he is so shy that he can't go up to a girl to say hello. So you got to look at those extremes there and realize that some men are just so shy that these tactics might help. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And I mean, I work a lot with women, and I find that some women are also very shy. And I just want to also say that there is, and I don't know if you identify as this, but I identify as neurospicy. So there's also this overlap of like societal norm says you must flirt in this certain way. And then if you don't relate to the world in a neurotypical way, at least like I don't, then it's like, well, give me the standard operating procedure. Like, help me know how to actually connect the dots, because this isn't coming naturally for me. Or for me, I experienced childhood sexual abuse. So it's like, well, I don't feel comfortable just kind of like feeling and being sexy because I have all this other stuff in the way. And so it is a deeper work than just the outer parts that we see and the kind of like flashy media parts. And like you said, any movement can get distorted. and the original teachings can get distorted. So
Yep.
yes to the heart of it, and I'm glad that you've had good experiences with it. And I feel protective of women and people who haven't had good experiences with it, and that's okay.
100%, 100% Violet. I wanted, just because we're limited on time, and I know you focus on a little bit about attachment styles, and so, I kind of, not to be cheesy, but, attachment styles for me is kind of like, what's the other one that people talk about? Love languages.
The love languages?
Yeah. So like, I'm like, come on. I love all of the languages. Like, how could you
Yes.
just have one? So to me, attachment styles is a little bit like that, in the sense that who isn't insecure?
Yeah,
Do you know anyone
totally.
that isn't, that is fully secure, Violet? So can you help me kind of unpack that concept of attachment styles, and really, understand it perhaps in a
Yes.
way that, helps?
I mean, attachment style is like 40 years old at this point, so it may not even be super relevant for where we're going relationally and in our society. But at the time, it was very groundbreaking, right? About how kids develop an attachment style based on how their parents nurture them. And if we take that bigger perspective, I think there's value in saying how I was raised influences how I show up in my relationships now. But I think attachment style, kind of like the Myers-Briggs, is flat. It's like, okay, that's useful for a tiny bit of information, but it needs to be more alive and dynamic. It's kind of like a typology. And so I have seen for myself and most of my clients how our attachment style might be a certain way based on our childhood experiences, but then it changes based on who we're around, right? Like if I'm around someone highly avoidant, I might feel more anxious, like, oh, what's going on here? Like, there's no connection. I might start blaming myself instead of taking a few deep breaths, like getting more regulated, noticing, okay, they've got something going on. And like my validation doesn't need to be driven by how they're interacting with me. Or someone who's really avoidant, if they're with someone like warm, making good eye contact, like being secure and friendly, they might feel less avoidant. I mean, they also might feel freaked the fuck out and like want to run for the hills. But it's so much more dynamic than just the flat ones. And I considered that I had a pretty disorganized attachment style where I was all of them at any given time. But I will say that for me, I have seen my attachment style shift over time as I've done work. So I think it's an important framework. It's not the only one, and it's not as like flat and deterministic as people might think.
Okay. No, I appreciate it. That kind of helps me understand a little bit. So I guess it's just something that perhaps people can put into their life, just self-awareness, and also, knowing what your attachment style is perhaps could help. But
Yes.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I think it's just one of those things that for me, it's like, I'm not going to do that. Like for me, that doesn't help, but I can see perhaps it's kind of like CBT, like cognitive behavioral therapy. Like,
Yeah.
for some people it works, and for some people it doesn't. And yeah, it's one of those things where, so.
I'm glad you're bringing that up because I think we all have this tendency, especially in like the AI world, to say, oh, this one framework, right? Like, or this one tool is going to fix everything. And from my own journey and a lot of the clients I work with, we have complex trauma. And so it's not just like, oh, I did one Reiki session and like everything was nirvana, or, oh, I had one psychedelic experience and my whole life changed. Like, well, maybe it did, but it's like a series of tools. So to your point earlier about pickup artistry, it's not really to me about the pickup. It's about the work underneath it to build confidence and skill.
Yep.
But that also needs to be combined with like self-awareness and grounding and it's like a mosaic is how I think about it, because we're all unique and different things are going to work for different people. And I'm not really into human design, but I've had people say, 90% of the coaching industry is geared towards people who are manifestors. It's just like, oh, just do these 5 things and it works. And it's like, well, it's a little more complicated for most of us.
For sure. And I think it's the sort of the less, the coaches that have less experience that try to sell it as if it's so simple, and it is more complicated than that. So just to kind of dive into the next thing I want to talk to you about, because I know you're kind of, you coach people with online dating and stuff like that. So how important, Violet, would you say sexual chemistry is in determining whether a relationship will be successful. And what I want to get at is people always say date your friend. And that's a concept that's never made sense to me. Like the show Friends, you know how they all date each other in that show?
Yeah, I think that's weird.
It's so weird, right? Like I've never could date my friend. Like she's like my sister at that point. So
Yes.
what's your take how important sexual chemistry is?
Yes, I think it's important, but I think it's beyond just physical attraction. I think we have like a sense of chemistry with people sometimes based on our energy or based on like intellectual connection or based on like a little bit of that banter or give and take. So when I met my husband, I felt like we had these kind of spiritual sparks. It was just like, oh, like I like this person's worldview and I am stimulated by the conversation. And there was enough of like an edge emotionally where we met at this event. Well, we met in a dream in real life, and then we met at this event on dreaming. We have this kind of crazy story. But towards the end of our conversation, at the end of the night, he's like, I need to go home because I haven't meditated yet. And part of me was really judging him. I'm like, it's 11:30, bro, and like you're leaving me and this connection to go meditate. But the other part of me is like, that's fucking hot because I appreciated his integrity, his commitment to his practices, his willing to like leave when he needed to leave. And so that's what I mean about like sometimes the polarity or the friction or the contrast also creates some of the attraction. But if you don't have, I feel like, some sort of natural spark in any of those dimensions, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, physically, whatever, and I think we do need like a baseline level of, oh, I really feel drawn to being with this person. And I do think it's different for different people. I have one of my friends who identifies as a sexual blueprint in the Jaya system, and she's very visual. She's like, if I don't feel into him physically, like it's not happening. You know, and it's not that I don't care about how someone looks, but I've never really had like a physical type. I can date all different sorts of how people look, and it's really about the connection between the two of us. So I think you have to honor yourself and like what is truly a turn on for you, and is it more visual and body type and all that. However, caveat that like a lot of what we think is visually attractive has been influenced by beauty standards and pornography and all of those things. So we have to also unpack that.
100%. Well said. So in terms of online dating, let's get into online dating. My girlfriend right now, definitely did not meet her through online dating. I met her in person in real life.
Awesome.
Online dating to me has become so terrible these days that the quality, like Michael Sartain, you know, he always he describes that you know there's like a few types of personalities on online dating. There's terrible things. I forgot what he says, but maybe I'll edit it into this show. But what's your take on with online dating? That was my opinion. Don't feel like you have to share the same opinion, but that's
No, all good. So I don't remember all the types either, but I think we were talking about with pickup artistry. I think it started as a good idea. Like, hey, it's hard to meet people. I live in the middle of nowhere. Or like, my parents keep trying to set me up with XYZ and like, I'm not into that. And so I think the impetus was good. And then it gets commercialized, and then there's shareholder value, and then there's metrics of numbers of users, and then there's, you know, AI bots and sex bots and like all the things. And so, you know, they're keeping these like little pop-up apps of new apps that have a different promise, but they don't have the user base. And so it's kind of like a crapshoot because you need to have a certain number of user base for people to feel like they're getting a variety of you know, options. I will say about half of my clients meet their partner on the apps. So it is still successful for the women I work with. Yes.
50%.
50%, yes.
Is there, can you name the apps or
yes,
you can't?
Hinge.
Okay.
Hinge is the top app, and I know that's their like the app to be deleted, and I actually find that to be true. Second place is a tie between Field and Tinder. Tinder used to be higher, but now more
Field?
people are doing
For real? Field?
Yes. However, it depends on the type of relationship you're looking for, right? So some people are putting profiles up there saying like, I'm looking for something monogamish and like, here's what I'm into, but I do want a long-term relationship, but open to exploration along the way. And then I found that people meet someone where the context is, we're getting to know each other, we're not sure if it's going to lead to anything. But then it does because they're both bringing like that level of honesty and intentionality into it. But I would say right now it's Hinge, Tinder, and then Field. And same with Tinder, people are like, hey, I know this is a hookup site. I'm open for that, but here's what I really want. And then they're kind of really being clear. So my view on the apps is that none of this like, let me be funny to stand out, let me like play this game to like get more swipes. It's like just being brutally honest of like, here's what I'm up for, here's what I'm not. You don't have to be that dry about it, but I help my clients write their profiles, and it's kind of fun because I encourage them to say a little bit about them, a little bit about what they're looking for, and then mainly about what is the type of relationship, not just the status, but like, how do you want to feel? What are the things you want to do together? And then I have my own kind of methodology of how I encourage people to actually use the apps. But I find that a lot of people I work with, similar to me, they're like, I'm burnt out on dating, I'm really intuitive, and I've been through enough that I know what I want. And so if you're in that level of kind of maturity, then I say you need to be able to like go out and meet people and shine your light. And it's interesting because I feel like we went through this bell curve of the apps being really popular in like, 2012 to 2018 or something, and then COVID, people were using the apps, but it was so shitty. And so now people are finally, just in like 2025, 2026, like getting out more and meeting people in real life more. And so that's starting to pop. And I read some numbers the other day that even though the apps are, in quotations, like successful, only 20% of long-term couples meet on the apps. And that's held steady like the last 7 or 8 years. At first it was like 10% and it started climbing, and different apps will publish higher numbers because they want people to use their app. But the number one paid way to meet someone is still in real life, through a mutual friend or through a shared activity.
I want to hit the air horn, but I won't. Just for your ears. So, I can't believe you didn't even mention Bumble as a top app.
It's a top app for people to use, but I haven't seen people get into a relationship from it.
Oh. Okay. Now, something you didn't talk about, Violet, was the algorithm. So one of the reasons why I thought these apps were terrible was because of the algorithms that they have, right? So you mentioned all the right ways that you coach your clients on their profiles, etc. But how do they ultimately fight the fucking algorithm?
Yeah, I mean, there are little ways. You can change your profile frequently, and the more frequently you change it, the more higher you get up in the ranking. It doesn't have to be a huge change, but like change one of the prompts, or change one of your photos, or change the like order of the photos. It doesn't need to be like a full-time job, but usually after 2 or 3 weeks, you fall off. And so every 2 to 3 weeks, just update something small on your profile. And I will say, because I'm talking to a man, like it's very different for men than women. For men, it's like a shit show. 10% of men get 95% of the dates or something. And so
air horn again.
I really try to help my clients to be liberal in their filtering, because I'm like, it's about quality. It's not about height. It's not about like where they went to school. Sure, if you want someone to have a college degree, great, you can say that. But it's like we get fixated on these external things, and then we don't have a good proxy for seeing what someone's character is and the emotional things that we can connect with someone on. But yes, I just wanted to highlight that I know it's very different for men, and for women too. I actually coach not to do like the duck face and the peace signs and like all the things that supposedly people should be doing on the apps. And I just have little tips about some body shots, some face shots, more professional photos, no sunglasses, no hats, like no black and whites, no group photos. Like I just try to make it as real and connected as possible. But I do think it's gotten harder. And I hate saying that because I really like being like the voice of positivity. But I do think online dating has gotten harder. And I think it's because the original mission drift, right? Like scope drift. People who are running the company and doing all that stuff they're not really focused on getting people in relationship anymore.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, great. This is great conversation, Violet. I love it.
Thank you.
And by the way, I drink a lot of coffee before this, so I'm a little bit hyped.
I love it. I haven't drinking coffee yet today, but I love connecting about this stuff, and you're asking great questions, so thank you.
No, I love your, you seem like a really good coach. So I think I just want to know if you could tell us a little bit about, because I want the listeners to really learn from you, because I definitely can see that you know what you're talking about. So where can people find you, and do you have a particular, like, some coaches like have a framework, like they call it something, or do you just do like kind of coaching like a counselor would, or do you have a framework that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I have a program called Love Harmonics. It used to be Love Alchemy, and it's a 6-week program, and we go through the different elements and how those elements can help shift our love life. So it's kind of witchy and kind of practical at the same time. And at the end, you leave with a divine union blueprint. And it's divine union is really like, well, what is the inner work that I need to do to be ready for my match, to become the match instead of waiting for like a matchmaker.
And sorry, this is for men and women that you coach?
Yeah,
or?
all gender. Yes.
All gender,
all
right?
Gender. Yeah. So for the bulk of my career in like 2015 to 2022 or so, I was mainly working with women, and some men would kind of find me off and on. But more and more men have been coming, and I also have some co-ed programs now. So it's currently in season, so doors aren't open. But I also have something called the Love Field, Hot Love Summer, and it's all about like co-ed practice, embodiment, polarity, communication, flirting, talking about sex, and like getting used to talking about taboo or uncomfortable things. So yes, I work with all genders, and men and women can join that. If you go to violetlange.com/love alchemy, that's where you can find out more details. It starts on September 10th and doors open August 17th. And then I have a lot of other programs, but that's probably the best way to start with my work.
Amazing. Violet, I wanted to ask you if you would agree to be on the show another time, because
that'd be fun.
Okay, yeah, just because I do want to keep it to we're at the almost 30-minute mark.
Yes.
I guess I'll ask you one more question before I let you go out. I will ask one more question. And then of course I look forward to having you on again. We'll talk about different topics, but what would you say for men, is the number one, sort of advice you would give men to improve their online dating profile and hopefully fight the algorithm? You did mention some tips, but just ultimately, what's the number one advice you would give men in general?
I would say lead with their heartfelt desires. I know that sounds really cheesy, but a lot of men are focused on like, I need to be funny, I need to have the perfect prompt, I need to have like the right photo. And this is more from the women's perspective. I think fighting the algorithm is updating it and changing your pictures more frequently. That's honestly just the easiest way to do it, even though it's annoying. But in terms of the actual content, it would be like, here's what I want and here's why I want it. How does that sound for you? So instead of trying to be funny, be real. Talk about what it is that you want and lead with your desire. And I have an example of a client who on his profile is super vanilla. It was like, I want to cuddle and like I'm looking for, someone to go out to dinner and movie with. And it was just so bland. And then when he really got into his desire, he's like, I want to feel your hair over my face, like when we're making out and you're on top of me. And I want to feel like the spark of joy in your eyes when I surprise you with your favorite flowers. And like, it was visceral. It was about the 5 senses. It was sexy and it was heartfelt.
Amazing. Sweet. That's awesome advice. Okay, Violet, I'm gonna hit stop. We already talked about where people can find you, so
great.
Let's hit spot. That was great. Thank you so much for your time, Violet.
Of course, that was really fun. You're a great host and lots of good energy, and I like that we could kind of unpack some of the societal things and the practical things, and yeah, I'd love to come back.